tremble.
The travelers who passed through Millbrook always said the same thing. Something is very wrong with that place.
Something is definitely wrong here.
And they were right. No one in Millbrook could speak. Not a single word. The baker couldn't greet his customers. Mothers couldn't call their children inside for dinner. The priest couldn't say prayers on Sunday. For 7 long years, the whole village had lived in complete silence, like ghosts walking through their own lives. This is the story of how a small girl with a strange gift freed them all. How it all began. "7 years ago, Millbrook was a normal village. People talked, laughed, and argued just like anywhere else. Then something terrible happened. The village leader was a man named Marcus Thorne. He was rich and powerful, and most people were afraid of him. Marcus wanted a piece of land that belonged to an old woman named Ilara. This land had a magical well that never ran dry, even in summer. Marcus wanted it badly. Ilara was what people called a wise woman. She made medicine from herbs, helped deliver babies, and healed the sick. She never hurt anyone. But Marcus spread lies about her. He told people she was a witch. He said she made their crops fail and cursed their children. None of it was true. But Marcus was powerful, and Ilara was just one old woman with no family to protect her. The village held a trial. It lasted only 1 hour. Person after person stood up and lied. The carpenter said he saw Ilara dancing with demons. The baker's wife said Ilara had cursed her baby. The blacksmith said nothing at all, even though he knew the truth, because he owed Marcus money. They sentenced Ilara to hang. On the day of her execution, the whole village gathered in the square. As the rope went around her neck, Ilara looked at Marcus with calm, sad eyes. "You have silenced the truth with lies," she said in a clear voice. "Now lies will silence all of you. Until someone comes who can speak only truth and is not afraid of what happens next, you will lose your voices. You will not speak for 7 years for each lie told against me today. That is 49 years of silence." Marcus laughed at her. Then they hanged her. But when Marcus opened his mouth to speak to the crowd afterward, nothing came out. His face turned red. He grabbed his throat in panic. He tried to scream, but there was no sound. He turned to the crowd for help, and saw the same fear on every face. They opened their mouths, but no words came out. Not from anyone. The curse had begun. In the days after, some people tried to confess what they had done. They wrote down the truth on paper, but the words burned up like they were on fire. Some tried to leave the village to get help, but they always ended up walking in circles, coming right back to where they started. The curse was real, and it was strong. The girl who couldn't lie. 7 years later, on the exact day Ilara had died, a little girl walked into Millbrook. Her name was Maya. She carried all her things in a cloth bag, which wasn't much. Maya had no home and no family. She had been kicked out of 12 different villages, and Millbrook was her last hope. Maya had a problem. A big one. She couldn't tell lies. Not even small ones. Not even to be polite. If someone asked, "Do you like my new dress?" and Maya thought it was ugly, she would say so. If someone asked, "Am I your friend?" and Maya didn't think so, she had to say no. It wasn't that she was mean, she just couldn't make her mouth say things that weren't true. Her mother had died when Maya was small. Her father sent her away because he was tired of her embarrassing him. Other children threw rocks at her and called her names because she said true things that hurt their feelings. Maya had learned to stay quiet most of the time. It was safer than telling the truth. But when she walked down the empty main street of Millbrook, Maya felt something strange in the air. It was heavy, like the feeling before a storm. And for the first time in her life, her problem with lying didn't feel so bad. It felt like maybe, just maybe, it could be useful. An old woman came out of the bakery and saw Maya. Her eyes went wide. She waved her hands frantically, trying to tell Maya to go away, to run, that it was dangerous here. But Maya shook her head. "I need help," she said out loud. "I'm hungry and I have nowhere to go." The old woman fell to her knees and started crying. She hadn't heard a human voice in 7 years. Doors opened all around. People came running from every direction. They surrounded Maya, staring at her like she had fallen from the sky. They pushed pieces of paper into her hands, all of them with questions written on them. "How can you talk? Who are you? Can you help us?" Maya read each note carefully. "I don't know why I can talk when you can't," she said honestly. "I'm just a regular girl, except I can't tell lies. I don't know if I can help you, but I'll try if you help me first." The old woman, her name was Sarah, nodded hard. She took Maya's hand and led her to a small cottage. She gave Maya soup and bread and a warm bed. That night, Sarah gave Maya an old book and told her to read it. The book told the whole story of what had happened to Millbrook. The lies about Elara. The trial. The hanging. The curse. Maya read every word. When she finished, she looked up at Sarah with serious eyes. "You all killed her," Maya said quietly. "Not just Marcus, all of you. You lied, or you stayed quiet when you should have spoken up. That's why you can't talk now. You had voices and you used them for lies, or you didn't use them at all." Sarah looked down at her hands. She nodded slowly. It was the truth, and the truth hurt. "The curse says someone has to speak only truth and not be afraid of what happens," Maya continued. "I can't lie even when I want to. But I'm afraid of lots of things." She pulled her knees up to her chest. "I'm afraid people will hate me. I'm afraid of being hurt. I'm afraid of being alone again." She stared at the fireplace. "I don't know if I'm brave enough to help you." Learning to be brave. But the people of Millbrook didn't give up on Maya. Every day, more people came to Sarah's cottage. They brought written confessions, page after page telling the truth about what they had done. Maya read all of them. The carpenter confessed he had lied about seeing Elara do magic. The baker's wife admitted she had blamed Elara for her sick baby when really the baby was just born weak. The blacksmith wrote that he had stayed quiet because he was afraid of Marcus. Even Marcus himself came. He was old now, bent and tired. He gave Maya a letter confessing everything, how he had made up the charges against Elara just to steal her land. Maya read it all. Then she looked at the crowd of people packed into the cottage. "You want me to say all these things out loud?" she asked. "You think if I speak your confessions, it will break the curse?" Everyone nodded eagerly. Maya shook her head. "No. I won't do it." The people looked shocked. They waved their hands and wrote more notes. "Please. You're our only hope. We'll give you anything." "I said no," Maya repeated, standing up. Even though she was small, her voice was strong. "I won't speak your truth for you. That's not how this works." She walked to the door and turned around. "Elara didn't curse you to be mean. She cursed you to teach you something. The truth isn't just words, it's being brave. It's standing up even when it's scary. Even when bad things might happen. You all need to find your own courage." The people looked at each other in confusion. How could they find their voices when the curse had taken them away? I don't know, Maya admitted. But I know that I can't do it for you. You have to do it yourselves. That's the only way curses break. That's the only way people change. Maya left the cottage. She walked through the village to the piece of land that used to belong to Elara. The old well was still there. Nobody had taken the land, maybe they felt too guilty, or maybe the magic kept them away. Maya sat at the edge of the well. She shouted hello down into it and listened to her echo come back, over and over. She sat there for hours, thinking about truth and lies, courage and fear. As the sun went down, Maya made up her mind. The day everything changed. The next morning, Maya asked Sarah to gather everyone in the village square. When all 137 people were there, Maya climbed up on a wooden crate so everyone could see her. I changed my mind, she said. I will help you. But not the way you think. She took a piece of chalk and started drawing on the ground. She drew a big circle, and inside it, she wrote names. Marcus. Carpenter John. Widow Anne. The baker's wife. Every person who had lied about Elara, and every person who had stayed quiet when they should have spoken up. The curse says someone has to tell the truth without being afraid of what happens next, Maya explained. I've been thinking about what that means. She looked at the crowd. I think it means someone has to tell the truth even when it costs them everything. Even when everyone might hate them for it. Elara did that, she told the truth, and you killed her for it. Now someone needs to be as brave as she was. Maya took a deep breath. Her hands were shaking. I'm going to tell all your secrets out loud. Every lie that was told. Every person who stayed quiet when they should have spoken. I'm going to say the things you can't say. And when I'm done, you might hate me. You might hurt me. You might make me leave, just like every other village did. The people looked nervous. Some shook their heads. Some backed away. But I'm going to do it anyway, Maya said, her voice getting stronger. Because someone has to. Because Elara deserves for the truth to be told. And because you all need to hear it, even if it hurts. She pointed at Marcus first. Marcus Thorn, you made up lies about Elara because you wanted her land. You knew she was innocent, but you had her killed anyway. You are a murderer. The words hung in the air like thunder. Maya turned to the carpenter. John Miller, you lied and said you saw Elara doing magic. You never saw anything. You lied because Marcus promised to forgive your debts. The carpenter's face turned red with shame. One by one, Maya spoke the truth about each person. She said their names. She told their lies. She didn't yell or scream, she just spoke calmly and clearly, like she was reading from a book. Some people cried. Some looked angry. Some just stared at the ground. When Maya finished, she was exhausted. Her throat hurt from talking so much. She looked at the silent crowd. I'm afraid now, she admitted. I'm afraid you'll hurt me for saying these things. But I said them anyway because they needed to be said. That's what courage is, being afraid and doing the right thing anyway. She stepped down from the crate. Now it's your turn. Not to talk, you can't do that yet. But to be brave in other ways. To make things right. To stop hiding from what you did. Maya walked toward the edge of the village, ready to leave. She figured they would chase her out anyway. She'd pack her bag and move on to the next place, just like always. But then something amazing happened. The break-in. Marcus Thorn stepped forward. His old legs shook, but he walked to the center of the square. He knelt down right where Elara had been hung 7 years ago. And he started to cry. Deep, silent sobs that shook his whole body. Then the carpenter came forward. He knelt beside Marcus. Then the baker's wife. Then the blacksmith. Then Sarah. One by one, every person who had lied or stayed silent came and knelt in the square. They couldn't speak, but their faces showed everything: shame, guilt, sorrow, regret. Maya stopped walking and turned around. She watched as the entire village knelt in silence, finally showing the truth of what they felt. The air began to shimmer. It started at the old hanging tree and spread outward like ripples on water. The sky darkened, even though it was morning. The wind picked up, swirling around the kneeling villagers. Then Marcus opened his mouth and spoke his first words in 7 years. "I'm sorry." His voice was rough and broken, but it was real. "I'm so sorry for what I did." The curse was breaking. One by one, voices returned. People gasped and cried out. They said, "I'm sorry and forgive me and we were wrong." The words came flooding out after 7 years of silence, like a dam breaking. They spoke their shame. They confessed their guilt. They said all the things they should have said 7 years ago, when it could have saved an innocent woman's life. Maya watched from the edge of the square, tears running down her cheeks. She had been so afraid, but she had done it. She had told the truth without knowing what would happen. And somehow, that had been enough to break the curse. But the curse wasn't finished yet. The air kept shimmering, growing brighter and brighter. Then, standing in the center of the square where she had died, was Elara. She looked exactly as she had 7 years ago, old, thin, with kind eyes and gray hair. But now she was glowing with a soft silver light. She wasn't quite solid, not quite a ghost, but something in between. The villagers gasped and shrank back in fear. Elara looked around at all of them with sad eyes. "You have your voices back," she said. Her voice sounded like it was coming from far away. "Because a child had more courage than all of you." She spoke truth when truth had a price. She was afraid but did it anyway. Elara turned to Maya. "Come here, little one." Maya walked forward on shaky legs. Up close, Elara looked less scary. She looked tired and lonely, like someone who had been waiting a very long time. "Thank you," Elara said softly. "You freed them, but more than that, you freed me. I've been trapped between worlds, kept here by the curse. Now I can finally rest." She touched Maya's cheek gently. Her hand was cool and light as air. "You will always be special, child. And yes, people will always be uncomfortable with those who tell difficult truths. But never think your gift is a curse. The world needs people who cannot lie. The world needs people like you." "Will I ever find a place where I belong?" Maya whispered. Elara smiled. "You already have." She turned back to the villagers. "You have all confessed. You have faced your guilt. Now you must do more. Live the rest of your lives in truth. Speak up when you see injustice. Have courage when courage is needed. Make my death mean something." Then she looked at Marcus. "You asked for my land. You shall have it, but not for yourself. Build something good there. Something that helps people. Make it mean something." Marcus nodded, tears streaming down his wrinkled face. "We will build a school. Free for all children, even the poor ones. We'll name it after you." Elara nodded. "That will do." She began to fade, the silver light growing dimmer. "Goodbye, people of Millbrook. Be better than you were." And then she was gone. A new beginning. The villagers kept their promise. They tore down the hanging tree and used the wood to build desks for the new school. They built a school on Elara's land, around the magical well that never ran dry. Above the door, they carved her name, Elara School for Truth and Courage. Marcus gave away most of his wealth to pay for teachers and books. He lived simply in a small house and spent his last years trying to make up for what he had done. The carpenter, the baker's wife, the blacksmith, And all the others found ways to help people and speak truth, even when it was hard. And Maya? She stayed in Millbrook. Sarah adopted her, gave her a real home and a real family. When Maya was old enough, she became the school teacher at Elara School. She taught children that truth was important, but so was kindness. That courage meant being afraid and doing the right thing anyway. That one person speaking up could change everything. Children came from villages all around to learn at the school. And whenever a child was afraid to tell the truth about something, Maya would sit them down and tell them the story of the silent village and how it was freed. Truth can hurt, she would say. But lies hurt more, and they hurt for longer. Be brave. Speak up. The world needs your voice. And the children would nod and understand. Millbrook was never silent again. It became known as the loudest, happiest village in the whole region, a place where people said what they meant and meant what they said. Where truth was valued more than comfort, and courage more than gold. All because one small girl had been brave enough to speak when speaking had a cost. All because Maya had learned that the thing she thought was her curse was actually her greatest gift. And sometimes, on quiet evenings, people would see a silver light near the old well, and they would know that Elara was still watching over them, making sure they kept their promises. The curse was broken. But the lesson remained.